I think I have now started. Good. Now we can. All your numbers are rising. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And welcome to the University of Bradford 3-day advanced workshop on research using LLMs, how to legitimately use generative AI in research. My name is Akiko Ueno. I am Associate Professor in Marketing and Head of the Human Technology and Innovation Research Cluster at the School of Management. I will be hosting the online component of the workshop over the next 3 days. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce my colleagues and co-host. Joining me are Dr. Rachel Shrimpton, Assistant Professor in Marketing, and Dr. Takao Maruyama, Assistant Professor in Business Analytics. Rachel and Takao will be supporting the in-person delivery and have worked closely with me in developing this event. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to our workshop instructor, Dr. Shubin Yu, Associate Professor of Marketing at HEC Paris, founder of GAI for Research.com, and creator of the AI-powered qualitative research platform, Qualitati. I would also like to acknowledge Shubin's generosity. Although the rapid funding has enabled us to cover the essential cost of hosting this event, Shubin has kindly agreed to deliver the full 3-day workshop without a teaching fee. This has allowed us to make the workshop accessible to a much wider international audience. Around 90% of participants are joining from outside the University of Bradford, with colleagues taking part from across the world. This makes the workshop genuinely international research community for the next 3 days. Before we begin, I'd like to share a short personal story about why this workshop is taking place. In April last year, I attended one of Shubin's workshops on generative AI-powered research method. At that point, I considered myself reasonably knowledgeable about research method and digital technologies. However, after only a few hours, I found myself asking rather uncomfortable question. Am I working in the Stone Age? What struck me was not simply the capability of the tools, but how rapidly the research landscape was changing. I realized that many of the workflows I had spent years developing could now be enhanced, accelerated, or even fundamentally reimagined through the responsible use of generative AI. It was both exciting and slightly unsettling. More importantly, I realized that learning about AI is no longer optional. Whether we are enthusiastic adapters, cautious observers, or skeptics, generative AI is already reshaping how research is conducted, analyzed, and evaluated. Since then, I have been looking for an opportunity to invite Shubin to Bradford so that we could learn from him again. I am very pleased that together with Rachel and Takao, and with support from rapid funding, we have been able to bring this workshop to life. Over the next 3 days, our goal is not simply to learn new AI tools. It is to explore how these technologies can be used rigorously, ethically, transparently, and legitimately within the research process. We hope the workshop will provide practical skills and help all of us think more carefully about the future of research in an AI-enabled world. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you find the workshop stimulating, challenging, and helpful. If you have any questions, during sessions, please use the Q&A function for online participants. And with that, I will now hand over to Dr. Shubin Yu. Shubin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Akiko, for the invitation. And Rachel, do you like to say something?
Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly address everyone in the room. Welcome. We have quite a few online, but obviously we've got a handful in the room as well. Hello, everyone online. So I know Akiko was a little bit hard to hear in person, but I am Dr. Rachel Shrimpton. I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Takao, and then of course, Shubin as well, Dr. Shubin. Just very quick health and safety. It's going to be very hot over the next couple of days. We'll try to keep water up and going for you guys. Bathrooms are just just behind reception to the left. If you go through the main doors, there's 2 bathrooms there, and then of course on the floors above as well. And we're not expecting any fire drills or anything like that. So if we do have one, it's just main meeting point is through the main doors here. So just to keep that in mind. If anyone doesn't have Wi-Fi, Takao and I can help with that. So if you need Wi-Fi, just give us a shout. But otherwise, welcome. We'll have a few pictures being taken throughout the day. So if you don't want your picture taken, just give us a shout as well. Let us know. Then we'll be sure to leave you out of them. But otherwise, welcome to everyone in the room. Welcome to everyone online. And I'll hand over to Shubin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel, for the introduction. And my name is Shubin, and really nice to have you all here in the campus and also online. I can see there are lots of participants are still joining at this moment. And I will briefly introduce myself. So I'm currently Associate Professor of Marketing at HEC Paris. And I'm also the founder of Qualitati, which is a company helping people to conduct qualitative research in the AI age. So we are also going to use some of the tools provided by the platform during this 3-day workshop as well. And yeah, here is Qualitati, and yeah, Mimi probably you already see it everywhere. So we are also going to have Mimi to demonstrate some of the example, for example, what is reinforcement learning, etc. So you will see Mimi several times on the slide as well. And so it will be a 3-day workshop. So it includes both lectures and also hands-on exercise. So even if you're online, you can also participate in the exercise. So there will be a platform a little bit like Blackboard, okay? But it is much simple. So I use vibe coding approach, to build this platform. So everyone, you can now go to academy.gai4research.com. Okay, so if you're online, you can also go there. And because we have all the course materials there, and you will also be able to submit your assignment there. Okay, so I can show you how to do it.
Hi, Shubin. Can you share the link in the chat?
Yes. Okay, so I will show you again this one. So academy.gai4research.com. And then you will see this interface. Okay, I will share my screen again. For research.com. So academy.gai4research.com. Then you will see this page. Okay, do you see this page? No?
Yes, we can see.
Academy, yeah. Yeah. And then you will select the course, which is this one, Advanced Workshop on Research Using LLMs. And the password is me at Bradford. Okay, I will show you again the password is here. Mimi at Bradford. And then if you log on, then you should be able to see a learning platform. Okay. If you have any question, raise your hand. Okay, great. So I will show you again here. Then you will be able to see this thing. Okay. So you will have the material here. So now it's day one morning foundation. Okay. So this is all the material we need for today. We have the course syllabus. We have the handout day one. So this handout actually, so you don't need to take notes, right? Because there will be the handout there already. So if you open the handout, then you will see, okay, this is everything we need. I think I uploaded the wrong one. Okay, bear with me. I will quickly update the new one. So don't download the handout yet. I think I uploaded the wrong one. Okay. Yeah, I'm uploading the new one because that's still the old one. I think it should be this one. Yes. Okay, great. Sorry for that. Now, if you refresh, you should be able to see the new one. Okay, let's go there again. Okay, handouts day one new. And that's the new one. You see, it's much better in the layout and also with more detailed explanation. So yeah, so you don't need to take note. You just it provides you a reference. If you want to learn something more in depth, you can always refer to the handout. Yeah, handout day one new. So you need to refresh. If you still see the old one, you still need to refresh. Okay, and there is assignment exercise where you can find, and at the end of the class, then I will upload the slide. So I will not upload the slide upfront, right? So I will only upload it afterwards. And I also provide some useful link where we are going to use it as well during the class. Okay. You cannot find the website. I will show you again the password. Here. academy.gai4research.com. For the online audience, do you have problem with accessing the material?
I think so far okay.
Okay, you all have it?
Yeah.
Great.
All good.
Great. Very nice. Thank you. Okay. So then I will continue. And the tools that we are going to use today, we have the Notebook LM, we have Qualitati, we have actually quite a lot of tools, but I would like to emphasize that, these kind of tools, they come, they go, more importantly is to learn the concept, okay? Because it's quite transferable skill. For example, on day 3, we are going to learn coding agents. For example, Cloud Code, Codex, anti-gravity. They are different tools from different providers, from different companies, but they all operate similarly, they function similarly. So that's why it's more important to understand the concept than the tool itself. Okay, so I actually, for the online audience, I have received a survey result from you already. So I understand most of you have been used GenAI tools before, for example, for proofreading, for like formatting the reference, etc. But for the in-person audience, I would like to know, okay, have you used any GenAI tool for research? And if yes, what are they? Grok, you are using Grok. Oh, that's a very niche foundation model, actually. Yeah. So most people use GPT, right? Yeah, Gemini or like Claude, right? Grok is, we are also going to mention about Grok actually later. And okay, when do you use them? So I can see most of you use a foundation model, right? So when do you use the foundation model?
Sorry, Shubin, there is a translation on that and live caption on that slide. And one
Oh,
of
I
the
can turn it
participants.
off. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So anyone, like, for example, you use it for proofreading, or you use it for like brainstorming for your research idea, or okay, to get an overview of the topic. What else? Okay, to restructure the paper.
Just to start off, plan the initial structure.
Okay, to plan the structure of the paper. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
Otherwise, as a researcher, because of her, I took part of my thesis, my PhD thesis, and put in ChatGPT and ask it, please put this text in a graphic model, in a framework. Thank you. In a framework.
Okay, so you put your thesis in a foundation model.
Part, some categories that I found, that some finds that I had my PhD, and I asked it for it to put in this framework. And
Okay, so
completely
okay, so it's more like, okay, you have already something, and then you use, for example, GPT to ask it to review, or come up with suggestions, or give you some critiques, for example. Okay, so that is also another use case. Okay, and for the online audience, you can also see if you have any idea. Okay, literature review, search knowledge gaps, and creating proposal of possible new research. Yeah, so actually we know that some of the proposal, they are very standardized, right? Or some of the application of fundings, or some admin job, they are very standardized. So these are good example of using GenAI to automate those very tedious, repetitive jobs and tasks. Right? It can save a lot of time of us. Okay, so I can see your use case are still quite fundamental, like a very basic level, I would say. So if you follow our third day, which is on agentic AI section, you will really have a really new idea, about how to conduct research with the help of AI. Because now I'm using it, and it's really save a lot of time of my, and I can really focus on the core, research idea without, doing a lot of, like, for example, Excel, merge different Excel together, or etc. And I'm also going to propose a new idea, for rigorous research, because now it feel like, okay, if we use AI, it is not rigorous, but actually AI can become a witness, can become a a jury member to actually try to control the quality of your research. And I will also explain how can you do it. And maybe the future, maybe in the future we have this kind of standard. Okay, how can you, for example, if you want to analyze data, you always need to go through an AI, because in this case, the AI act as a witness. So you cannot change your data, you cannot manipulate the data, right? So that will be really some kind of very like forward-looking scenario. Okay, and today we will have two sections. In the morning, we are going to talk about the foundations. Okay, so how GenAI actually work. And also we are going to talk about some guideline of how to use AI in a responsible way. And then we are also going to cover literature review and also literature search. And in the afternoon, we are going to talk about text analytics and annotation, right? For example, if you have a large amount of data, text data, how are you going to analyze them? Okay. And we are going to talk about annotation and topic modeling as well. So why should a researcher learn AI? Okay, so there are 6 reasons that I try to summarize. The first one is efficiency. So we can do the same work for a fraction of the time. So we can save a lot of time and we can focus on the more important part, right? Productivity is a little bit similar to efficient. So you can actually work on coding, analysis, even probably before you don't have the chance to do it. Performance, high quality job, like if you are not a native speaker of English and now you have the possibility to produce a manuscript that is really of high quality. Rigorous, so reliable coding and also reliable formatting. So that is also something AI can help us to do. Empowerment and then insight. So empowerment is like you learn together with AI. Okay, so for example, before you don't know how to code, but now you learn together with AI. You start to code a small app, a small HTML page, and gradually now you can actually code a whole big project. And also insight, to help you to analyze the data, text data, because we know for high dimensional data like text data, images, videos, they're very difficult to analyze using traditional analytical method. But with large language models, now it become much easier. Okay, and here are some of the research. I'm not going to explain it here, but you can actually find, if you're interested in, you can find all those reference on the last slide. So you have for writing, it increased the productivity, consulting, support, coding, etc. And performance, rigor, empowerment, insight. So these are all peer review papers, except this one from Harvard Business Review, but they all show very strong empirical, evidence of how AI can actually facilitate our research process. Okay, so to begin with, I would like to show you a little bit, the foundation, like some important concepts. So it can be a little bit more technical, but it will be really helpful for you to understand, okay, the limitation of, for example, large language models. So we talk about hallucination, but we never know why AI hallucinate, right? So understanding this kind of, basic theory, also basic knowledge can help you to understand better and use it in a more responsible way. Okay, so GenAI refers to AI, right? And a kind of an AI system, but instead of trying to differentiate different pattern, it try to create new content, such as text, images, video, audio, etc., based on the pattern it learned from the existing data. So it's a little bit different from traditional AI, which we sometimes call it discriminative AI. They are mainly built to analyze data and make prediction. For example, they use traditional AI to predict the weather tomorrow, or to face recognition is also traditional AI, to see if you are this person or not this person, right? But GenAI is not to predict, but it's more to generate new content. Because of this feature, now we can also develop agentic AI, which is also part of generative AI, but it is more a step further. Okay. So here is a summary. GenAI creates, classical AI analyze and decide. And one paradigm shift to research is that, okay, now we can actually use AI to help us to create something. For example, to produce the manuscript, but of course, we are not going to ask it to automatically produce it, but For example, to help us to read, check some spelling mistake, grammar mistake, etc. Okay, but the catch here is, okay, a fluent generator of possible content is not a source of verified truth, right? So we will come back to this throughout the course. Why it's important to understand, okay, the content generated by the model is not always accurate, especially if we learn, the mechanism. It's about predicting the next word. Okay, it's based on probability. It's not based on rule. It's not based on a fixed, a principle. It's based on probability. So it always come up with the predict the next word, the next piece, etc., based on how probable they are. Okay, so how can we create a large language model? So first step, you need to have pre-training procedure. So that means you need to have a large amount of text data. So that's why you can see Wikipedia or this kind of online social media posts that used to train like GPT, that used to train Grok, etc. Okay, so you need to have a large amount of data. So it's unsupervised learning. So the model just to try to find a pattern. Okay, if people speak this word, if they mention this word, what will be the next word they always associate with? For example, I have a cat. My cat like to sleep on the. Okay, so now the model needs to predict the next word. And based on the, all the text data they have earlier, from book, from Wikipedia, they predict, okay, the most probable next word will be sofa, or it can be carpet, right? So it also depends on the context. So it depends on the context, depends on the, the pre-trained parameter, etc. So it predicts the next word. So that's why nowadays it's much more difficult to increase the performance of the model, because we are kind of consuming we have consumed or finished all the good quality text data. Okay, and probably you heard about the news that Anthropic, they are now collecting old, books, so books that are published maybe 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So they disassemble it and then scan one by one and then trying to use them to train the data, train the model, right? So because we are running out of good quality data. Okay, and after you have those text data, you also need to tokenize and embed it. Okay, so tokenize means that you need to break down a word to several small words. For example, applesauce. So you need to break it down to apple and sauce. Okay, or apple pie, then it's a two token. Okay, so student, one token. Empowerment, it can be empower and ment, right? So you need to break down this word to several tokens. And then you need to embed it. You need to convert those tokens to number, because our computer, they don't understand the word. So you need to vectorize, embed it to a representation of number to represent this word, okay? And then you have the self-attention mechanism, where, transformer. Why it's called transformer? Because it is actually based on the attention, self-attention. So they weight every token against every other to understand their relationship between each other and also understand which token is more important than the other. Okay, and after the first round of training, you also need to have the reinforcement learning with human feedback. And eventually, so you need to give the output, okay, this is good output, this is bad output. And eventually you fine-tune it you can fine-tune the model to different sub-tasks, etc. Okay. So I want to show you, so the first three stages, they are not really relevant to us because it is more, for the big companies, big model provider, they will done this already for us, right? But the last two parts, they're actually quite relevant. So for example, reinforcement learning with human feedback. Okay. So here is the attention mechanism of transformer. Okay. So you see, okay, maybe love is a more important word than the other, etc., connected to dog, etc. So I'll not explain it here in depth, but if you're interested in, there's a very, very nice website. So if you go to, okay, so if you go to our syllabus, our learning platform, and you have here, how does a transformer work? And you click on this link, so you can play a little bit around. So it is a very nice project to help you to understand how a transformer works. Okay, so here you see the example here is data visualization, empower user to make, okay, now it's going to predict the next word based on make and of course the context. So how it works, you can see here. We can generate, and then you can see the whole process. Okay, go through this, it go to this, and eventually come up with, okay, inform has 60.48 probability there, better sense the decision, right? So it has different probability. So in the end, okay, the model decide to use inform. And then based on inform, then you generate again, then it predict the next word, which will be decision or choice. But then decision has a higher probability. So it select decisions. Okay. And you can also check, okay, temperature, top P, top K, etc. And you will realize, okay, if you change the top K or the temperature, then you also change the decision, the probability of different model and also the choice of different model. So you see, it's not always choose the most proper one. It's sometimes because if you always choose the most proper one, everybody using ChatGPT will always get the same answer, right? If you ask the same question. So you try to, the model try to be a little bit more dynamic. So it uses sampling procedure. Okay, as long as you are in the top 5 or top here, we put top K as maybe 10 or 11. So as long as you are the top 11 most probable token, you have the chance to be selected. Okay, so that's why if you in some model you can configure the top K, top P, and the temperature, to get different result. Maybe if you are a little bit confused here, I will show you later, the concept in detail. But it's quite important, the temperature, top P and top K, because it's something is very relevant. If we want to use the model, for example, for text analytics, to use it better. Because if we are going to use foundation model for text analytics, we need to give this kind of feature, this kind of parameter setting. And if you don't do it, your reviewer will also ask it to disclose it. Okay, what is the temperature you use? What is the top K and top P you use? Okay. Okay, so far so good. Okay, great. Then let's go to the next one is reinforcement learning from human feedback. Okay, so RLHF. So it's like, okay, your model is now trained. So they're doing something, you need to give feedback to them. If they do something good, you give a positive feedback. If they do something bad, you give a negative feedback. Okay, so it's a little bit like training a dog, right? So I will show you a small video. This is Mimi, and I train Mimi can do a lot of things. For example, she can play dead, death, like falling on the ground. She can turn around, etc. So how does Mimi learn pressing a button for food? Okay. Okay, last one, okay. So you can see here, okay, maybe at the beginning, Mimi just accidentally touched the button. So you immediately give a treat, to her. Then she associate the treat with, touching the button, right? So she know, okay, this is a positive behavior. So then she will commit again, and then, okay, she receive another treat. So that's how we train the model, okay? We give a positive feedback to it. So have you observe any this kind of phenomenon when you are using the ChatGPT or your Gemini? Do you feel like, okay, they're actually implementing this mechanism? For example, when you use ChatGPT, sometimes they show you two versions of the answers, right? And then ask you to choose which one is better. So that is actually reinforcement learning, okay? Or they give you a thumb up and a thumb down. And you click a thumb up, okay, you give a positive feedback. A thumb down, they give a negative feedback. Okay, then they will try to, okay, if you like this answer, they will show this answer more to their user. Okay, so that is reinforcement learning. Yeah.
Question is that this reinforcement?
No, that is more like they try to be more agentic, try to see, okay, try to be more interactive actually, try to figure out what do you want, right? So it's not related to this, but it's more related to how they, make themselves more useful, more autonomous. Okay, and fine-tuning is also a very important concept. So it's like a dog that can be further trained for specific tasks. So a large language model can be fine-tuned for various domains. Okay, so the dog can be trained to be a fire dog, a fireman's dog, a policeman's dog, right? Or astronaut, right? Laika, or has been trained to be a astronaut. So a model we can fine-tune it to for specific domain. For example, if now you are working on a healthcare a chatbot, you want your model to really knowledgeable about healthcare, then you need to use a very nice data set with all the healthcare Q&A, and then you feed it. You use the data set to fine tune your model. So in this case, maybe your model is really bad at mathematics, at reasoning, but it's really good at healthcare. Okay. So that's actually what a lot of small companies they're doing. Instead of creating their own model, they just need to have a model that really strong in one specific domain, but really stupid in other domain. So they will use a small model, small large language model like Gemma 5, something like that, and then they will use that to because they are small company or small institution or small research team, they have a lot of data. Okay, data related to their specialty. So they use that data set to fine tune the model. So the model in the end will be really good to answer question related to that domain. Okay, so that is fine tuning. And many foundation model like GPT, Gemini, they offer you this kind of possibility to upload your data set and fine tune the model and also call that model. Okay, so I will also show you later how to do it. And this is another very interesting model structure. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called RAG, R-A-G, RAG. Okay, so RAG is short for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So we know that sometimes we want to build a knowledge base. Instead of fine-tune it, fine-tune it require a lot of effort. You need to have very nice data set. You need to structure your data set to fine-tune it, right? But of course, fine-tune is the best. But if you don't have the capacity, don't have the for example, the financial support for it, you can actually build a RAG. So for example, you build a knowledge base with several PDFs, and those PDFs are really important information. So instead of asking the model to invent the question, to invent the answer themselves. You ask the model to always go back to retrieve the information from your knowledge base, and then get the information, get that piece of relevant information and synthesize into the answer. Okay, so that is a RAG system. And many models nowadays already integrate RAG system. So like Notebook LM, have you used Notebook LM before? No? Notebook LM? No. Okay, it uses a RAG system. So you upload several PDF there, and then it will retrieve the information. So for example, you build a knowledge base with 50 PDFs, but you forgot, okay, you think about a concept, you know that there's some concept, you know, this concept is mentioned in the PDF, but you forgot which one. So now you can ask it, okay, go back to the knowledge base and then find the answer and then synthesize the answer for me. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so it's like a librarian. Okay, so the librarian, you ask a question, the librarian go to get the book, read the book, and then give you the answer. Okay, so that's RAG. So it can be really useful if you want to build a chatbot. Okay, a chatbot or a customer, you know, agent. For example, my company, we don't really have a person working for the customer service. So what we do is that we have a chatbot. So people can call the chatbot or, you know, interact with the chatbot by typing. And the chatbot will try to find the answer from our knowledge base. So we have a knowledge base, okay, containing all the possible Q&A, etc. And if the chatbot cannot answer it, then it will send an email to me. Then I can answer it. So it's like a human, you know, chatbot collaboration. Okay, so that is a little bit more technical. So now we know that the foundation models, okay, they are like GPT, Gemini, Claude. So how can we select which model for our research? Okay, for different research purpose, we need to use different models because they are not always good. They are not, you know, good in every aspect. So how can we select the model? Okay, so I always show this one because they always have very similar logo, you know. You have Gemini, you have Claude, GPT, Grok, Perplexity, right? They all look very similar. So which one should we use? So the first choice is that, are we going to use open source model or closed source model? Okay, so mostly all the open source model are mostly from China or from EU. And closed source model mostly are from America. Okay, so closed source model means that if you want to use it, you need to pay for it. Okay, you cannot install in your own computer. Like GPT, if you want to use it, you need to pay for it, right? Or Gemini, sometimes they give you some free trial. You can talk with GPT for like 50 times for free a week or something. But in the end, if you want to conduct a large scale study, you need to pay for it. An open source model, you can deploy in your own computer or in your own server. So you don't need to pay for it. Okay. So do you know any open source model? DeepSeek, right? Do you know DeepSeek? Like, yeah, DeepSeek is a Chinese model, and like Qwen, Kimi. So they're all very nice open source model. You have also Gemma, actually from Google. It's also an open source model. Okay, so open source model, it means that actually the model is published out there. Okay, so everyone can download it, and if your computer is strong enough, everybody can run it. So you don't need to worry about over reliance. Like, for example, I don't know if you know the Claude Fable, the Fable story. It is a super strong model of Mythos, right? So super strong, too strong that they stop people using it now. So everyone outside US cannot use it. So according to the law, US law, so they can actually just come up with a regulation, okay, and then you cannot use it anymore. So you kind of be very dependent on it, right? So but it's super powerful. Let's say Claude Fable, I use it to do something, and it's super powerful. But of course, the disadvantage is very costly, and also you need to be careful with the security and this kind of issue as well. And then we have GPT 5.5 now, but 5.6 going to release maybe this week or next week. And then you have Gemini 3.5, okay, which provides huge context. So you can have a large context windows. So what is a context window? Is the amount of data you can put in your chat, okay? So if you have a small context window, that means you can only put one PDF, maybe. But if you have a large context window, like a Gemini support 1 million token, that means you can actually put 10 books inside. So you can, in this case, you can do a lot of things there. And then you have Grok 4.3. So Grok, the advantage of Grok is that they are less censored. So you can talk more sensitive topic with Grok. Yeah, right. But sometimes for research, it is important because if you want to really understand mental health, depression, maybe this kind of content, this kind of information is censored in ChatGPT or Gemini. So you prefer a model that is more uncensored. Okay, so that's frontier closed model. So if we want to use it, we need to call the API. Either we use, if you want to use it directly, you just go to their website, chat with them. But if you want to analyze a large amount of data, you need to build a kind of an app or a code, a syntax, and then call the model, request the service of the model via API. So API is we can consider as a API key. You need to have the API key to be able to access their service, right? So the API key, you can consider it as the password, your account number, account ID, and password, the combination of account ID and password. So you need to just give API key, then they know, okay, you pay for it, then you can access their server, okay? So that's API key. And if you decide, okay, I have limited budget and maybe I also don't want to, I'm really concerned about the privacy because my data is super sensitive and it's individual data. So I don't dare to upload it to GPT. Okay, then you can select open source model. And like, for example, GLM 5.2, which now is the most advanced open source model. And they are free, so you can download it. And if it's too large, so maybe your computer is not strong enough, then you can actually, they have different version. You can download a slightly smaller version. And then you can run it. Of course, the smaller, the less capable, right? But maybe if your task is really simple, maybe it can work. Okay, we have also Mistral, which is the only large language model in EU. So it's from France. And then you have also Llama, but Llama is not doing well anymore. But they have really large context window, which is 10 million token. So if you really need to analyze a large amount of data, for example, like topic modeling, then you can also select Llama 4. Okay, but what about the performance? How can we compare the performance of it? And for different tasks, which model should I choose? So I would like to show you a toolbox. It's called lmarena.ai. So now our learning platform. Okay, so our learning platform, and then you can find here, there is one called LLM Arena. You click on it, and then you will see this interface. Okay, are you with me? Yeah. So for example, you can ask a question here. Okay, who can you explain what is dehumanization? For example, you ask a concept. Okay. And now you will see there is you know, two assistants. So there are two assistants. They are running, generating content for you. Okay, and then you can take a look of the response. You compare the response of assistant A and assistant B. You don't know who they are actually, right? So just based on your own judgment, okay, it feels like the second one is better, right? So if you read it, you see, okay, whether this concept is explained it really in depth or it's really relevant by providing some example. Okay, if you like the second one, then you can say, okay, B is better. But of course, you can say both are good. So in this case, I think both are quite good. So I will click both are good. And afterwards, they will review who they are. Okay, the right one is Gemini 3.1 Pro Preview. The left one is Minimax M3. Okay, so in this case, they get a lot of data evaluation from the user. So they are all real human evaluating the performance of the different large language model. So in the end, you can see the leaderboard. And you can see maybe we really are concerned about text generation. So we select text. So you can see now the best one is Claude Fable 5. Okay. Followed by Opus 4.6 thinking, Opus 4.7 thinking, and then Muse Spark, which from Meta, Gemini, Claude. So they are all closed source model except GLM 5.1. That is the only open source model here. Okay. So maybe if you want to use open source model, then you can see, okay, maybe I should use this one because in terms of text generation, they're the best. Okay. Any other question? And then also you have like not just text generation, you can also select a subdomain, for example, mathematics. For example, if you really want to have a large language model good at mathematics, then you can see the mathematics again is Fable. Is the Fable 5 is the best. That is quite intuitive, right? So it's not actually, you know, sometimes 4.6 is better than 4.7. It's not because, you know, it's just based on user evaluation, user experience. Okay, it's not about maybe in the end 4.7 is stronger in terms of coding, but for mathematics, in terms of user experience, maybe 4.6 is better. So purely based on user evaluation. Okay, you have a large community there, always doing this kind of evaluation every day. Okay, they are the, you know, the geek. They are really into comparing different models. They're working there all the time. So they're trying different model and then see. Okay, then you also have image generation, etc. Okay, and they also have leaderboard. So it also gives you an opportunity if you want to try different model, you actually don't need to pay for it. You can just come here and then you can go here and then you select direct or side by side. Then you can select different model asking different questions. So they all almost have all the model here, right? So you can select all the model here and then you can ask them the same question. So it's really good when you want to brainstorm something and you can have 10 models, you know, giving you different answer because sometimes brainstorming, we want to have as diverse idea as possible. And having only one, relying on one single model answer, maybe it limits your inspiration, your creativity. So in this case, if you go to here and then talk with different model, maybe it give you better idea because they are trained on different data set. They provide you different ideas. Okay, great. Okay, then let's take a break.
Shubin,
Yes.
there are a few questions in the Q&A and also in the chat as well.
Okay, let's answer it and then we can take a break afterwards.
Yeah, so in the chat is how should we use the chosen assist? How do we choose assistant A and B? They provide different answers.
How do we choose assistant A
or B
assist-
when they provide different answers?
it's just based on your preference. You take a look of the answer, you feel like which one is better, right? So it's your pure evaluation for you. So you click A is better or B is better, based on your own evaluation. And now here, side by side, you can select which one you want, A or B, and then they will give you the answer to the same question. Okay, I hope this answer your question.
The next one is, can you repeat the ranking page?
Can we, what?
Ranking page, yes.
Yes, it's here. So you go here, the leaderboard, you have the agent, you have text search, you also want to test the search capacity of different model is here. Web development, image to web development, text to image. For example, text to image, even I did not see the rank, now I can predict it's GPT, it's GPT-2 probably. Yeah, it's GPT image 2, followed by Gemini, the Nano Banana, which used to be really famous. And then you also have video, etc. Okay, so these are all the rank that you can take a look. Okay, and also please explain the difference between ChatGPT EDU and normal GPT. So if your company has a ChatGPT EDU, they subscribe their service, so have a kind of an agreement, then your data is actually safer because your data will be stored in your university server. So it will be safer, right? Then you just use a normal GPT. So yeah, so in this case, you can actually upload more sensitive data there, but I would still try to be careful. If it's really, really sensitive, like student, individual student data, I will try to anonymize first before I submit it to anywhere because of the, some GDPR issue, etc. Okay. Can we choose more than 2 models to test at one time? I don't think so. At this moment, I don't think it's possible. And yeah, I think you always need to try 2 and then select another 2, so to do the same thing.
And there are some questions in the Q&A. Is there something you could address later? Because like notebook LM we are going to use. So
I wonder if you can get a combined answer from all model in this website. For example, ask, yeah, that's really good. Not from this website, but from my website, you can do it. So if you go to qualitati.com, and we have a tool is called synthetic focus group. So that means you can create a focus group, ask them to discuss a question, like for example, I actually asked them to discuss about sustainable AI. Let's see. Yeah, sustainable AI is exactly the one I'm actually asking them to discuss. So you have different model. So you can see that discussion. So I have Sarah, which is a AI model, right? So it's I give some persona, James, Carol, May. So they're all AI model. I even have my own digital twin, right? So you can actually ask it to, and then they discuss. You can decide which kind of model you want. For example, Sarah is GPT 5.4. You can change it to, for example, Mistral Large 2, etc. So in this case, you can have one single answer. Okay.
Shubin, there are questions in the Q&A. Would you like to address later? Because some of
How
them.
can I go access the Q&A? Do
Oh,
I
you
have
don't
the
see
access
Q&A.
to it? So maybe
Yes.
let me stop sharing because let's take a break of 10 minutes and then I can also check the Q&A, okay?
Good. Okay.
Great. See you.
Could we come back in 10 minutes, please, online participants? Thank you very much.